LEDs. You don't know the difference between the real ones and the fake ones, you know? And he's just like, shit.
Yeah. I love that line when he goes, money's easy to get.
Yeah. Like, where did you get this roll of $100 bills? And he just has that
money's easy to get. So what I do like is, so this movie, Wingard wanted to make a Terminator meets Halloween. The movie's Terminator meets Halloween hybrid. And so that's when he talked to Simon, and then they made this movie. And so we're gonna spoil everything, of course. We always do, but not in a bad way. We're just gonna give away stuff. But, so I like that this movie, so David, the plot is this guy David, you see him running in the beginning. He runs to this home where there's this family who lost their son in Iraq. And he comes back. He's like, I was a friend with your son. And he kind of ingratiates, and is that the word? He becomes integrated into their lives.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he doesn't it seems like he would, like, by retelling the movie, though, it almost sounds like he forces himself in, but he doesn't. Yeah, they bring him in.
Stay with us. He's like, I'm going to stay at a motel. Yeah. And no, you're staying with us. I'm going to catch a bus tomorrow. No, stay with us for a couple days.
And then after the couple of days, they're like, stay a couple more days.
Exactly.
Everything seems to be going really well for this family.
And what I love, though, is there's a line in this movie where he says that, let me find this. So he's basically coming to this family. I believe, so he's a super soldier. He was in some program and he escaped. Is that
KPG?
Yeah, KPG. And he has a KPG sweater on, like the logo when he walks into the house.
That's Adam Wingard's fake thing, kind of like Kevin Smith's Nail cigarettes or Quentin Tarantino's Apple brand cigarettes.
I love that. Because You're Next, that's in it as well, right?
You're Next. And also, briefly with Blair Witch, the drone that they use is from the KPG.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a United Universe. So he comes back, but what I do like is, so he knew the son. They were probably friends. Then he went away to become this kind of super soldier. And so when he goes to this house, there are some theories that he just wanted to help them. Like he's like, I wanted to help. I considered it my mission to assist you all while I was here. There were just too many complications. And then he has neurological conditioning that designed him to protect both him and the experiment. If he feels like his identity may be compromised, he's programmed to clean up all loose ends. I doubt he could stop himself even now if he wanted to. So this guy, he kind of went to help this family. But his way of helping is murdering the dad's boss, so then he gets a promotion. Framing the girl's boyfriend, who's Zeke, the guy from John Dies at the End, who's a, pothead. He kills the gun dealers to get guns. He beats up bullies. So he's crazy.
Well, he
crazy, but he
does
programmed.
Help them out. Yeah. I mean, he helps them out a lot. It's just, Maika Monroe, she kind of screwed it up.
Because she called. Did. Yeah, she called.
She's the one who called. If she didn't do that, they would all be going, wow, everything's going really well for our family now. The husband is now the boss, which is what he always wanted.
Yeah.
The daughter is probably going to go off to college because she doesn't have her loser boyfriend. And, the son is now stand up for himself. So everything would be going really well if it weren't for that.
And she called, yeah. And I guess she does the right thing, though, because she has a guy.
But was it the right thing to do?
I think so, because it
seems like he would have gone on his merry way. But it seems like after about 4 days, he'd be like, all right, well, maybe I'll just mosey on now.
But what if they
do construction work? Because that's what he mentions. They used to do construction work before the military.
Yeah, I guess he does. He just kills people, though. And she gets he does have a weird vibe. I mean, I think he's just this blonde, good-looking dude, so everyone's like, he's perfectly normal. But there's scenes where, remember when he meets the teenage kid, the brother, he just stares at the kid, played by Brendan Meyer, Luke. He's just staring at him. Like, he's creepy in this movie.
Do you notice that he never blinks?
Yeah, never blinks. So
he never blinks in the whole movie.
And so, I mean, there is a creeper vibe to him. I mean, he carries 2 kegs, 170 pounds each that are full. I looked up the kegs and how much. So he's carrying 340 pounds easily. I don't know. I don't know. So I know he makes their lives better, but he does so by murdering people, which...
I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But I like that, though. This is a guy who comes to this place. He wants to help his family, and he does so by pretty messed up means. And then they find out who he is, and then he just kills everyone because that's his programming. But I think that's a cool plot.
It's a great plot. I loved it. And then, of course, it goes with the soundtrack and the amazing cinematography.
Yeah, so the cinematographer...
Robbie Baumgartner.
Yeah, and he had done some pretty good movies before.
He was mainly known for his lighting techniques, and he was a camera op, though.
Oh, yeah.
On Water for Elephants And he was the DP for the second unit of the Hunger Games.
Dude,
and Battleship.
He worked on Leon, Broken Arrow, Sergeant Bilko, From Hell, 25th Hour, 8 Mile, Battleship, Argo. But he's worked on a lot of prestige. Like There Will Be Blood. He worked on.
And Dead Man on Campus.
This is a guy, I like what they had to say about him is this was one of his first shots as a DP. So he had been the gaffer or lighting technician.
As well as that would be a nice transition too, because that way you know how everything should look.
Yeah.
I mean, transitions very well into being a DP.
And I love the shots. I think my favorite on this is normally I don't like, so you and I are in a conversation, right? So like, let's say you're looking down at us. Like, so let's say you're doing an overhead view on you and I, and then there's just a camera circling us. Like, those kind of shots that people do? That's like the guy in a Steadicam walking around us.
Oh, I mean, Tarantino's famous for, has a couple of those.
And even in the commentary, they felt like Clerks 2 has one. I'm like, why is this here? That's not necessary. But
it's very actiony. Yeah. It's like, there doesn't need to be, unless you're parroting it, like, with Hot Fuzz. I don't see a point.
That's why this one works for some reason, because you can see the changing in expression on David's face. So he kind of becomes kind of menacing during this shot, when like the one that goes around them. So yeah, they really developed some really neat shots for this movie. And I think you could tell that this DP was really hungry, because this is like his first step up. Yeah,
he definitely wanted to show off, and well, not show off, but I mean like prove his stuff, and then that way he could get hired for more.
I think he definitely did.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I loved the way everything looked in it. Remember when we talked about the comparison with Strangers Pray at Night in the pool scene, and then the end scene with the guest, about how the lighting, very similar music too. I think it's actually what Clan of the Zymox is playing during the end of the guest, if I'm not mistaken. If I got that wrong, don't crucify me.
Yeah, don't tweet me.
But no, it was just that was great shots too, especially whenever the beginning, whenever I can't remember his name, but the guy who's in charge of the KBG.
Lance Reddick.
Yeah, and yes,
Major Carver.
And he
Dr. Loomis.
has to go through Dr. Loomis. Yeah. It was. He's going through the maze, and he's like, "Damn it! Like, how am I supposed to get through this thing?" And they're just like, left, right, and he's like, the way they integrated him moving as it went from like POV to like we're following him now and back and forth, and like normally they wouldn't do that, but it worked. It worked really well, and the jump scares. They were jump scares, but they were only jump scares within the maze. Yeah. So they made sense with the maze.
Organic.
And it looked great. I love that scene. And then speaking of the tube of death, I mean, all the smoke in that scene.
Lots of tube of death. Give me that tube.
What was it? The scene that it seemed kind of like most people wouldn't notice this, but anyways, whenever Maika is looking at the smoke, and then you just see it kind of dissipate, but you could tell that there was a special effects guy behind them.
That was the director.
What?
Yeah,
it was?
And he had
that's hilarious.
And I think he had a broom, and he called himself out for it. He's like, I yelled action, then I just did a little broom movement. And he's like, and it worked out perfect. The director called that out on the commentary.
I was watching that. I was like, oh my gosh, I could just see it, with a big flag just going whoop.
Yeah, he was flag. Yeah, that's what they use.
That's you could tell, but it was like, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it goes with the movie anyways.
And they did that on purpose. And the director, that's funny that you called that out. And also, we were talking about Maika Monroe.
It was a great year for her, because right after this came out, also came out It Follows.
Exactly.
And that was dynamite. You want to talk about a great horror film.
I love that movie. And I actually figured out how far the creature followed.
Oh,
have you read that? Yeah, that got picked up by like Bloody Disgusting.
I think I did read that.
But what I like about her is she's a really good final girl in this. But then she also pulls off the sarcasm really well. I mean, she's in a small town, almost 21 years old, still working as a waitress, kind of stuck in Arrested Development with her boyfriend. But I liked the way she can pull off sarcasm. She never came across as unlikable in this. She's not like the brat.
Yeah,
in this movie. She just has a good organic, natural vibe about her. And I think directors, from what I've noticed, she's in Tao. I don't know if you saw it on Netflix. She's a star in that. Maybe she's been a Hot Summer Night she was just in, but she has a very natural vibe.
You believe that type of look.
All right, how about this? Let's take a break, and then we'll talk about the guests some more. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. Chris, you wanted to talk about the additional 20 minutes that they originally wanted to put onto this movie. What did you dig up?
Well, they originally did shoot an extra 20 minutes that had more of an explanation of David and who he was, and with the KPG. But after kind of like putting it together, and then they screen it for people. I mean, we have to realize this movie's already an hour and 40 minutes, maybe even close to an hour 50, I think. But if you put another 20 minutes onto that, it makes it over a 2-hour film. That's already, I mean, an hour and 40 is already exhausting, especially for this type of film. But to put that on there was a little bit more than what people could handle, and also no one cared.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, do you think it would be a good idea to have, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but as an actual full film, like on a regular basis to show this to someone, I personally don't think it would be a very wise decision, because I do like the mystery of it. It's like, who is David? Is his name even David? I mean, it most likely isn't, but I mean, I like the mystery of it.
I mean, I got what the plot was just by watching the movie. Like, it didn't need the extra 20. So, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
like, who he is.
Oh, no, we didn't, because I kind of felt like I knew him. It seemed like he got into this program, then he got out, he escaped somehow, or whatever, and then he went to this family because he made a promise. Things go wrong because of his programming. People go after him, he kills them, then he escapes. So, that, I don't know, that's enough for me. Like, I don't need 20 more minutes explaining who he is.
Of course. But like, what about like how he's emotionless? There's more into that. Like apparently, like the original script said that he was injured in Iraq. He had spinal injury, and he was constantly pill popping, and he wanted more help with this. So he signed up for the KBG program, which they cut they severed the pain nerves, or however, I don't know how. Obviously, I'm not a doctor.
Yada yada yada.
Yada yada yada. They severed that from his spine, so that he couldn't feel anything anymore, and so he had no emotions and no pain, and he could also regulate his own adrenaline, which is kind of like a cool sci-fi idea. It's like, with Crank, he has to constantly be going, but he could regulate his own adrenaline, which explains why he was very emotionless throughout the whole movie, and also he could just get jacked up out of nowhere. Like, what about the scene with the diner? Whenever he goes, he's like, "So was she just here?" And she's like, the what's her name? The waitress. Yeah, she just left. And he's like, "Oh, okay." Pulls out the gun, shoots her, then takes 2 grenades out, throws it in the diner. The thing blows up before anybody even has a chance to think about it. So it's like, that would have been kind of neat to hear an explanation behind that. I think that's an interesting idea, but then again, I'd be okay with watching that once.
Yeah.
And maybe not multiple times viewing it.
I guess if there was a director's cut, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
like if,
I would be okay with that.
Some movies add that onto it. But I guess I love the original Terminator. I love Predator. I love Halloween, The Descent. And you get just enough about these villain or protagonists or antagonists to really like them. Like the Predator, you don't know much about it other than it can heal itself and it's invisible. You don't really know where it's from.
Of course, yeah, they have to make a part 2.
Yeah, so I just like in the guest, you kind of know that. I think they gave enough breadcrumbs for me to be really satisfied with it. And I think if there was a director's cut, I'd happily watch it. I just think what you said, a 2-hour plus movie, just wouldn't have worked.
And it's like, it's an action film that's structured like a horror film. Yeah. So it's kind of, it would be more exhausting than anything to just continually watch that. But
and I like being shown, not told. So that scene where he's holding the kegs.
Yeah, that's obviously some body strength. This
a
man
massive
has.
keg, 170 pounds, one on your shoulder, one you're curling. That shows he's superhuman. He has superhuman strength. And then in the beginning, they showed him running. So he's like, "Yo, you ran all the way from there." Actually, there's some deleted scenes that show where they lived was really open. Like we're talking in the desert. So the running scenes that they had Maika Monroe driving past him when he was running, and they just showed the expanse of where they lived, like the middle of nowhere. And I thought it was cool, but the directors thought it wasn't really necessary. But they showed that was in the middle of nowhere and him running. But, in the opening scene, that he can run far. He can carry kegs. That he can headshot a dude from 100 yards away.
Yeah, so, that's a great scene.
I guess I really like that because they sort of... They could have added that in, but I like the trust that they had. Like, hey, we're going to show you what this guy is.
We're going to show you that he's obviously a lot better than the average bear.
And then you can infer all that from there. So I dug that. But I mean, I would love to hear the backstory. Like if there was like a 20-minute clip, I'm down for it. They added the Lance Reddick scenes. Those were reshoots later on when they had to, because the audience is like, we know nothing about this. Because originally Dr. Loomis, Lance Reddick, entered the scene. And everyone's like
at the end.
Yeah.
That would have been really weird. Because I mean, out of nowhere, all of a sudden you just see everybody show up and he's like, "Where's David?" And it's like, wait, who are you?
Exactly.
It's like when you watch The Room. Who is this guy?
Wait, who's this new actor? And why does this lady have a thing on her neck?
And why does he care?
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was pretty neat that they had to reshoot that scene with all the government agencies. Like, oh, I need a flight there tonight. They reshot that to explain more. So
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And then I guess if they did integrate more of the KPG, that would have just been too much of an overload.